I'm Rob Lobreglio, brewmaster at the Great Dane Pub and Brewing Company in Madison, Wisconsin. After I got out of college, I realized I didn't have anything to do with my degree in religious studies, so I headed out to the west coast of America, which was where the American craft beer movement was really starting to take off. After we opened up the Great Dane in 1994, I was lucky enough to meet a Japanese fellow by the name of Tetsuya Kiyosawa. I trained him as a brewer, and he is still working in the craft beer industry in Japan. Currently, craft beer production in America represents over 12% of domestic beer production. In Japan, it's less than 1%. In keeping in touch with Tetsu, we've come to learn that craft beer is really starting to take off in Japan. So we decided to go over to Japan, visit Tetsu, and try and find out what is going on in the Japanese craft beer movement.
Over here. Good to see you. How do you know how many breweries are represented here? Is there the name of the brewery on here, though, or?
No, actually, their brewery, Hideji Beer.
Hi, that's great to see you again.
The Japanese, when encountering something new, such as beer, which was introduced by the Dutch in the 17th century, was pretty rare at the beginning. But it wasn't until perhaps the mid-19th century that it was sort of reintroduced and then gradually adopted by the Japanese in the 1860s and 70s, and then eventually made by the Japanese independently. After that, really it was a matter of getting it right in finding the right recipe, being certain that the terminology was correct, and it was a matter of trying to replicate something exactly.
Okay, it sounds like we're going to get the most interesting beer here.
Yes.
It sounds like some of the most exotic beers being made in Japan are made in Nagano.
And also the sake also.
Are we going in? Are we diving into this?
When the company sent me to Boston operation, I was amazed to find this taste of beer, microbrew beer. We could not find that type of taste back in Japan that time, because back in 1991, the Japanese government allowed only 4 major beer brewers have the license. I don't mention the names, but only 4.
This kind of thing might be abused in America.
But amazingly, in 1994, the Japanese government eased the regulation. Then they allowed to the micro brew beer suppliers to have this license. From that moment, there are many Japanese microbrew beer suppliers in Japan. Then we could enjoy the local Japanese beers, which I believe can beat the white beer in Belgium.
All right. Japanese Saison from Nagano. Cheers. Very nice.
This stuff is only for single batch brewing for special beer. This is our new concept beer. Saison beer.
Saison.
But they're using Japanese sake koji. next year is our main product.
Yeah.
It's secret. That we call Saison de Japan.
That's
So
beautiful.
finally, we add some yuzu flavor. Finally.
最初はまるっきりノウハウがありません。だからアメリカのビールをコピーしましょう、ドイツのビールをコピーしましょう、イギリスのビールをコピーしましょう。全てがコピーで始まったのが最初です。20年前は。でも今は我々がやってることはコピーを超えていかにして日本の独自のビールを作るかっていうことに、集中しています。我々は独自のカルチャーを作りました。大手ビールメーカーアサヒスーパードライという会社は辛いというビールの歴史を作った。素晴らしい。でもそれが決してヨーロッパのコピーじゃダメだと思うんですよね。やっぱり本当に日本はどうあるべきかというカルチャーを作ることが、次の日本のステップですと思います。
What you have in the macro brewing industry, you have 4 major breweries. And what's legally called beer in Japan is anything that is made with 50% barley malt or more. Right? If it's made with 50% or less than 50% barley malt, it's happoshu. And there's a very strange tax system in Japan where happoshu is taxed at a lower rate than beer. And beer is taxed at an extremely high rate. It's 220 yen per liter at the brewery before it's even sold. And in order to avoid these taxes, the major brewers are making happoshu, which is 50% or less malt, and the rest is corn, starch, rice, these kind of adjuncts, making lighter beers. And then there's a third category of beer, which is either no malt or it's happoshu with spirits added to it. Daisan no beer, it's called. There's the third category beer. All the major breweries are reporting a huge growth in the sale of beer-type products and a drop in sales of actual beer. Craft beer is growing, though. It's still less than 1% of the beer market. It's still very, very small, but it's growing at a rate of about 15% a year. So many of the small breweries can't even make as much beer as they can sell.
乾杯。
はい。やっぱ多分僕は思うにはクラフトビールは伸びていくのにものすごく時間がかかってしまうと思うんですね。だから今はちょっとこうなってるからもうちょっといくかもしれないけども、それ言ったらそれから伸びるのにはすごく時間がかかる。でこれはなぜかって言ったらやっぱりそのマイクロブルワリービールの税金が高すぎる。議事録には出てるんですよ。アルコールのその不公平税制をしなさいという議事録は出てるんですね。でもまだそこに手をつけてない。だから早くそれを変わればものすごく伸びる。
What do you have going on here?
Well, this is our first pub. It's been open 3 years.
Did you come over for the beer? Or you came over and then
We came over for various different reasons, and
Then
I've
decided-
been here 17 years. Mike, who's not here tonight, about 20. Jason's been here 6 or 7 now. All have Japanese wives. Just
Oh, okay. You know, the American craft beer movement seems almost limitless.
Right.
Like we're going to keep chewing away at
Right.
the big boys.
Right.
And wondering if you feel like that's the same thing here
Oh,
in Japan.
absolutely. It's just that we're like 15 years behind. So
Well, that's good for you.
yeah, we're so early in the process that
But you don't see anything that, difference in culture that could...
No. People that like good beer like good beer. Clearly, the market here is slightly less populated, so it's a little bit more limited. But we're at such early stages that that's not going to matter right now.
Yeah, there's still... not-
Eventually, there may be some difference between where the U.S. gets to and where Japan gets to, in terms of the end state. But the beginning state is very similar, so it's shouldn't be any difference.
I think he said this was a cold.
And that's a classic West Coast amber. In America, the small breweries had to educate the public by themselves, And then the large breweries, when they saw that the American public was becoming devoted to the craft beers, then they followed suit. But now it seems like here in Japan, maybe the large breweries have learned a lesson from what happened in America, and they don't want the craft brewers to be first and take the lead. They want to take the lead, but that will also open the door for the small brewers to come in on their coattails.
でもやっぱり資本力のあるところはもう早くその市場を取ってしまえっていう、まあ、どこそこの話をしちゃうとね、っていうのがあるので、まあ、そうではなくやっぱ全体のクラフトっていうパイをどんだけ広げていくかっていうところにもうちょっと少し各社考えていかないといけない。
今これからどういったやっぱり将来、5年後でも10年後こうあってほしいっていうイメージ、こういうふうになってほしいな、こういうシーンもそうですし、自分たちもこうなりたいっていうのはありますか？
まず僕たちはまず手に取りやすい価格でもうちょっと広く流通させたいです。でそれよりここ日本国内でより多く飲まれる環境を作っていくのがやっぱ使命だと思っています。
ありがとうございました。ありがとうございました。
It's pretty interesting. We're here in this rural area, and the place is pretty full for quiet countryside, but it seems to be almost all entirely women. It keeps going back to what we've heard a lot, which is that women are having a real significant impact on the craft beer movement here.
ビールはどこでも飲むんですけど、やっぱり出来たてのビール飲めるのは美味しい。お家では絶対味わえない。ここだから味わえるっていうのもあるし、いろんな種類をたくさん飲めるので、飲み比べができて、やっぱりどうしても来てしまう。
やっぱりスーパーで売ってるビールは大手のビールが多くて安いのでつい手に取ってしまうんですけど、ご褒美っていう意味ではあんまり売ってないけれども、一般的にスーパーとかコンビニで買うような缶ビールよりはすごく香りとかコクがすごい好きです。
That's our Northern California common. That's the one that I was telling you that we used more the San Francisco lager yeast with.
Split this up here?
Yeah, just kind of pour them out how you see fit. We got one more.
We drink what we brew and we sell what's left over.
Yeah. That's very good.
Hey, you know, it was interesting coming over here. Like, I was kind of curious about the level of qualities, and it's, pretty high.
I started up over here about 9 years ago, and then just going to some of the different beer festivals and stuff like that. It's like, I'd say a good 30% just dumpers, just kind of going, okay, that was good. But now it's pretty much everyone's kind of raised their game up a little bit. People are starting to have a little bit of a brotherhood as far as brewing goes, rather than company against company and our sales are this and our sales are that. But it's just like, hey, we're all craft here. It's like the better one craft brewery does. If you make a good solid product, then someone wants to try another craft beer, and so it's basically the better that everyone does.
My wife grew up in this area, so it was time to move in with the family and kind of support the community. And so that's what we're doing, bringing good beer to the community.
Good to see you. Thank you. Yes. You too.
I'm Laurie.
Thank you very much. The Yahoo Brewing Company, very interesting craft brewery in Japan. They are the largest craft brewery in Japan. They started in 1997. They're producing 40,000 barrels of beer a year now. But the really interesting thing about Yahoo Brewing Company is that you could tell that now they're at an interesting juncture in their development where they're worried about the next phase and connecting even more with the Japanese craft beer market consumer. They are starting to now use traditional Japanese ingredients. They talked about using fish flakes, they talked about using shiso. They also created another beer with black soybeans, black rice. So now it seems like where they started with the American craft beer spirit, now they're really trying to create something that's uniquely and traditionally Japanese. What do you think about the fish beer so far? You try it in the fermenter? Have you tasted it? And
Yeah, perfect.
oh,
Yeah.
thumbs up. Excellent.
Not fishy taste at all. Because amino acid from bonito flakes fermented by yeast and changed to ester. Yeah.
You know, in America, you know, some people appreciate our good food, but in Japan, food is like, this is like a massive food culture, right? People love good flavors and whatever it is, right? And I think that that's something that's going to help propel craft beer, right? But the, you know, non-cultural side of things, where the issues are, is distribution, right? And, you know, the big boys, you know, continue just to dominate like so many different, you know, distribution channels. And that's going to be very hard to change. So getting places to buy more direct, right? Because in Japan, there's no three-tier system. You just, I mean, I can buy beer online directly from a brewery. Anybody can just buy anywhere. It's very, very free, not restricted. But still having those middlemen, like in America, is like very important, right? For, you know, getting the product out.
Actually, you know, getting it out there.
Actually getting it out into the market, right?
売れなくてディストリビューターが全然扱ってくれなかったでしょうがなくもうインターネットで自分たちで直接日本の人たちにインターネットショップで届けるしかなかったでそこにいち早くやりだして今では日本でインターネットで一番ビールを売る会社になってインターネットが我々の成功のすごく飛躍の成功のポイントの一番最初にあったアイスバケットチャレンジ by ひまわりサンフラワーミーサンフラワーでこういう面白いことをやってるとこれをインターネットで上げると Facebook とかに上げるとものすごい人がこれをシェアするヤホーブリングの CEO がこんなユニークなことをやっているそれもすごいいい宣伝 PR をすごくしない
写真撮らせていただきます。いきます。はい、チーズ。
We're heading over to Baird Brewing Company over in Shuzenji, which is in a peninsula south of Tokyo. Baird Brewing started with just a very small pub and a very small brewing system, and he continually grew and grew. And today we are going to see his brand new large production facility.
Welcome to our neck of the world. Yeah, I've been to your brew pub.
Oh, excellent.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of Wisconsin beers. Here's our first brewing system. I've brewed so much on this, I just want to look at it now. After the first few years teaching English, again, I knew I wanted to be involved in Japan, but not as a teacher. And so I went back to the States. I went to graduate school and got a master's in Japan studies, always with the intention to return to Japan, which I did as a salaryman in Tokyo. And this is in the mid-90s, right at the time that they deregulated the beer market here. And this idea that I could combine my passion for beer and for making something and for my love of Japan, all in sort of one fell swoop, is what got me into it.
When did you add the pubs?
Well, we started as a brewery pub, and then our first Tokyo pub, Nakameguro Tap Room, we opened in 2008. So it took us 8 years. Tokyo saved us. And this is a great place to brew beer. We're still here, but it's a very difficult place to sell the sort of beer that, it's getting easier, but it's still hard. We sell 80% of our beer in the Tokyo area. What I always say to the people, the first thing they notice is it's bigger, but I say what's more important is better. Every time we grow, it's not to get bigger, it's to get better, and we put better tools in our hands.
This is an absolutely remarkable facility. Having him be enthusiastic about other people coming in, not having sense of competition, but more of that American spirit of working together to educate the public is very encouraging.
So it circulates from the side. The beer will come out the bottom and come back out the top.
Okay.
Consumers in Japan are phenomenal. I think Japanese consumers across the board are the most sophisticated people in the world. They have a high appreciation of well-made, passionately crafted things, and they're willing to pay a premium price for them, and they're willing to be educated, to bring an open mind to things.
ビールにこんないろんな種類があるのも知らなかったし、いろんなこんなクラフトビールがあることも知らなかったんで、これは絶対お寿司を食べたお客さん、揚げ物を食べたお客さんには、今までにはビールは1社しかなかったけど、2社しかなかったけども、いろんな形のビールが楽しみ方があるってことが、これからお客さんに伝えられることが、これからの自分のビジネスの中の一つの糧になると思う。お寿司の種類でも、マグロを食べた時、ウニを食べた時、イクラを食べた時、脂っこいお魚を食べた時によっていろんなビールを変えられるというのが面白いと思う。
いろんな種類のビールを飲んで
いろんな種類
飲み比べ。これホワイトビール美味しいです。日本の大手のビール、キリン、アサヒ、札幌全部美味しいけれども、なんかもっと個性が強く出てるので、苦みが強いとか香りがすごいあるとか、そういうのが日本のクラフトビールのいいところだと思うんですね。こういうクラフトビールは個性がいろいろあって、その中から自分の好きなものを選ぶのが楽しいかもしれない。
私は口当たりは多分日本酒の方が合うと思います。スルスルいけるっていうか、飲みやすい料理に合うと思います。でもビールは飲み慣れてないだけかも。これからもっと飲みたいと思います。
Well, we're here at the end of our 10-day excursion. We've tried a lot of Japanese craft beer. We've met a lot of people, bar owners, brewers, and the common theme that we keep hearing is that at the moment there's just not enough Japanese craft beer to satisfy demand. But also tied in with that is a little bit of uncertainty about how big the craft beer movement can become. But the Japanese have a very heightened sense of taste, and craft beer is certainly perceived as a quality product. So with the very large population that they have here, even a very small increase in the percentage of people drinking craft beer will have a great impact on the existing brewers. So it seems like, at least for the short term, there is opportunity here in Japan.
パとかアメリカから来るビールで日本で飲めるものはすごく日本のブルワリーの一番上よりちょっと上とか一番上ぐらいのものだと思うけど、全部来てるわけじゃなくて、日本に来ている海外のビールはすごいトップレベルだと思うけど、別にそこはなんか負けてないっていうか、他の国に行ってクラフトビールのブルワリーにいた時に美味しくないかったり、まだまだなって思うことって結構あって、それは多分日本も他の国も一緒だと思っています。私はこの成長段階を見れてすごく面白いと思うし、なんか多分応援したいですし、いっぱい飲みます。私は日本人として世界に自慢できるビールをみんなに知ってほしいと思っています。
Very nice.
So sorry I don't speak Japanese, but I would like to give you the shirt from my brewery. I made the Grand Bleu. You know the Grand Bleu? A true pioneer in the craft beer industry.